So we've started. Hi there. I'm Jeremy. Now we're going to talk about Pulp Fiction. Really, Pulp Fiction, on my list at least, sort of represents all of Quentin Tarantino's movies, because I love all of his movies so much. Not really because they're that amazing, although they are pretty amazing usually. They're just so much fun. Just so entertaining. I had already, let's see, before I saw Pulp Fiction, I think I had already seen both of the Kill Bills. I don't know if I'd seen anything else by him, though. I had seen both Kill Bills, and I think then I watched Pulp Fiction with my friend. And really, just from the beginning, we were like, what? Like, because they're sitting, I mean, the concept of it is just so interesting. I think part of why his movies are so entertaining is because they contain conversations that, first of all, humanize these criminals, because they're often about criminals. They humanize the criminals because they're like criminals are thinking about just random pop culture things or random things in life, where they're thinking about like, wow, so we rob all these places. When they're talking about like the logistics of robbing places and how annoying it is to have to get away with all this stuff, and then they're like, hey, wait a minute, why don't we just start robbing restaurants instead? Because even though the restaurants are more likely to have more money, plus there's all the customers that we can get, and they're probably going to have money, so we can take all of their money too. And it's like so much more money, and it's way easier. I love money. Yeah, it's way easier than robbing a bank. Because a bank, you know, the police are probably going to get called, and they may have like alarms in the bank themselves, like silent alarms and all that stuff. Whereas if you rob a restaurant, they're probably not going to have silent alarms, because restaurants don't get robbed all that often. So, like if you go into a diner, you can hold up that place and steal from all the people and probably not have too much trouble, as long as you know what you're doing. So like that beginning was already, we were like, whoa. And then like it ends with them literally deciding to rob the restaurant that they're in, which is like, holy crap, that's awesome. And then right after that, like the music kicks in and you have the and like the logo shows up, and at that point we were just like, ah, like we'd been blown out of our seats. We didn't know, like, and then the rest of the movie is just like one awesome thing after another. Quentin Tarantino does dialogue so well. Like I said before, he really humanizes his characters by having them just talk about random things. Like, rather than just monologue about, like, their inner feelings most of the time, or, like, their deepest passions, they'll just talk about, like, things in their life. And it makes them more realistic in some ways. You don't normally, like, in Die Hard, which I have not seen Die Hard, but I'm going by what I've seen of Die Hard and heard about Die Hard. I hear it's a great movie. I'm probably going to watch it over Christmas break. But you would not expect like Hans Gruber to start talking about how much he hates the lines at Walmart. Or like if you were to watch James Bond, you wouldn't expect Goldfinger to like talk about how annoying the baristas at Starbucks are, or like how he thought Hit Me Baby One More Time had come out by then, how he like the logistics, or how he thought like the Beatles were overrated and the Stones were really better. Like you wouldn't have that, but that's things that people actually think about. And he'll have characters discuss things that are generally unrelated to the story, but then he'll just weave it into the story somehow, and it'll come back and become important. And it's the same thing with his other movies. Kill Bill, they have like an extended conversation, like instead of like fighting, they just have an extended like monologue by Bill about how he likes Superman. And like Batman and Superman, how he likes Superman as opposed to Batman. Which I love to have conversations about superheroes. Spider-Man would totally beat Batman in a fight, by the way. Batman is cool and everything, but he's too slow and weak. But let's see. On top of that, I think the way that the story is told is so well done. How it's out of order, and it just sort of comes back to itself. Could you guys keep it down a little bit? Okay. This is for my class.
He's in recording.
The way they like bring the story back to itself is so well done, and then like the way that they manage to make things that really aren't funny at all like hilarious. Like
what?
When Marvin gets shot in the face, that was like the funniest thing. And his head like explodes all over the back of the car, and it's so like it's horrible. A dude just got shot in the head, but it's so funny. And there's all sorts of moments like that, like the Gimp. and butt rape and all sorts of things. Anyway, it's not for everyone because it's pretty twisted, but it's very, very entertaining, and I would recommend it as well as all of his other movies.